All right, Jen, here we got it. The brand new OLED TV from Sony, the Bravia 8. We also had the Bravia 3, the 7, and the 9, which were, LED TVs though.
Hey, Bran, why was 6 afraid of 7?
I don't know.
Because 7, 8, 9.
Good dad joke there, Jen. Good dad joke.
Mom jokes.
Well, maybe Bravia 8 is actually afraid of 7 and 9 because those are the mini LEDs this year. And this is just an OLED. But traditionally, we prefer OLED TVs, so I'm excited to get this one out of the box, check out all the cool new features, and then at the end, give a little buying advice. What do you think?
I think that sounds like a great idea. Totally different.
Totally different than any other video we make.
Totally.
Let's do it.
Let's go.
So Jen, this Sony Bravia 8 is the second best Sony OLED ever made. And we also have competition this year from the Samsung S90D and the LG C4. So I'm really excited to figure out which one of those is best because they're all really highly rated. So let's figure that out.
How wonderful to be able to see over the box.
Yes, this is a shorter TV than typical. Now, a lot of people will get a 65-inch, so this is very common for other people. It's just that, when we have 120-inch screens on the wall for us, not as normal for us, a little bit smaller.
We're spoiled.
We are. Very basic feet for Sony. That's how they go in, just like this. Yep, that's how they do it.
Okay, we've got our power cord.
Any more good stuff up there?
I think we got it. We got the batteries. We've got some little screws.
Let's get the clips. I win.
This time.
You're too worried about your beautiful nails. I don't have to worry about that. Cesar, you hold these, okay? Just hold these for us. We'll get them in like an hour, okay? Sound good?
Leave me alone, bro.
Sound good?
Oh, look at you. Aren't you so cute?
There you go.
Aww.
I'm just kidding, that's mean.
You look so pretty.
All right. I don't know if we can lift this up. It's a big TV. So it looks like we're just gonna pull these two ends off, right? And then the middle piece is what we leave it on in order to put the feet on. So we gotta pull those clips, I guess, which is what you were already doing without me. Jen's a pro. She knows what she's doing.
Yeah.
So for you guys at home, there's like a little break here. You could break these and then use this middle piece to stand this up. It can be a little wobbly when you do that, so you need two people anyway. So we're just gonna actually pick it up, take it out and put the feet on out here, since we have to repackage this up for Sony later. So let's just do that, Jen. Let's just pick it up. You can just pick it up like that. There you go. So light. BRB, Jen.
Okay.
All right, you're the foot installer.
I'm the foot installer?
Yeah, I'll hold the TV.
That's what they call me, the foot installer. I've got a whole channel dedicated to installing feet. Okay, so we can either go narrow or wide. What you feeling today?
I like going wide with these smaller TVs. It looks cool.
Yeah.
And then we also can go higher or lower. We got to give ourselves, we got to give ourselves a little room for our fingers so they don't pinch. So let's go with the little bit higher on the outside. Sound good?
Yep, I like it.
So you'd put them in the bottom too, like so.
Like so.
I mean, I could have helped you
like
up.
Screw.
Oh, I believe it. You know what? Good job.
Thank you.
The feet are on. They're not quite as big as the feet on the 85-inch Bravia 9 we had, which were ridiculously big.
Clown shoes.
I mean, but still, they're pretty basic. We need to get the stand here, put it up so that they can see how nice this TV looks. All right, Jen, you think we can lift it?
I don't know.
It's only like a third of the weight of these 98-inch TVs.
Right?
Ready? One, two, three.
Oh!
So light. All right. Hey, door popped open. Well, there it is, Jen, in all of its glory.
Yeah.
The Sony Bravia 8. That looks pretty good, actually, to be honest. The anti-reflective coating looks nice. It's very similar to the A95L just in general, which is a great sign because that TV's awesome. So, it's an OLED TV from Sony. I think they've done a good job with the old exterior, as they'd say.
Let's check out what's under the hood.
There you go. That's what we need to do. We do have, we got some 4 HDMI ports. That's pretty common on most TVs these days. We do have a couple USB, digital optical out, the S Center in speaker, which is awesome because we are going to be connecting this to the Bar 8 and even maybe the quads and do a video about all the cool Sony speakers. So it's nice that it has that communication. You can use this TV as a center speaker. And then you have 4 HDMIs. 2 of them are 4K 120. You have your wired internet line and then a couple of IRs for the remotes. And the cable antenna.
Brent, talk to me about this Visa pattern right here.
Oh, that's the old Sony 3x3, 300 by 300 millimeter. It's pretty common.
It's one of my favorites.
Yeah, it's lower on the TV, so it always makes the TV higher than the mount, which is a little different from like, Samsung TVs. They'd be up higher and the TV would drop lower. So it only really matters when you switch from one TV to the other. They typically don't line up. But you know what? Most people don't have to deal with that, just installers.
Yeah, just us.
Yeah. We also have these screw covers. It looks like they do not have any cord management. It's just covering the screws, but they look nicer if you're going to be standing on the back side of your TV. But I don't think we are going to be.
I don't think so.
Let's go around to the front and see what this black rectangle looks like from the front.
Ooh, it's a black rectangle.
Jen, there is not much for you to pull for plastic.
What am I even doing here?
Let's go. Let's see if you can pull this one. It's a challenge. Challenge. Jen's challenge. See how slow she can pull this one piece of plastic off. Good job. That was awesome.
A lot of build up for not a lot of action.
Sony, you need to put more plastic on your TV so that Jen has more fun pulling it. That's all that matters, right?
I did run into somebody at Trader Joe's the other day who said, your favorite thing is just pulling the plastic.
Right.
I love watching that. Said, how satisfying is it?
Yep.
I said, it is.
Yeah, that's cool. Jen ran into a fan. I wasn't there for the first time. I think that's the first time you've been noticed without me.
Yeah.
I think they noticed my stupid hat and my Kurt Russell look before,
Yeah. But you know what? I was bending over in the freezer case.
There you go.
Probably.
It's the thumbnail pose. There you go. All right. Anyways, so we got that out of the way. Not your booty, but the thing. So we have the remote here. Again, I had said they've gone to this like cool little finish here representing the eco-friendly remote control. So that's nice that companies are doing that. Pretty basic remote. I like that it's not overly complicated. It's like half the size that it used to be. The settings button and the back button are all like kind of situated in a way that it makes it very easy to use. I love this remote. The only downside for these is if you have a pet and he constantly hits the Crunchyroll or the Netflix button in the middle of like TV. Super annoying, but it goes back pretty quickly and we love our pets. So anyways, let's fire this sucker up. Okay, so here we are in front of the Bravia 8, and we have a nice little setup here, a couple of IKEA stands smashed together for those who ask, which people typically always do, and a couple little tchotchkes on the side here just to make it look nice and neat. So I like the look of this TV. The Bravia 8 looks pretty nice in the stand like this, as good as any TV can, I guess. The lower profile setup would look pretty cool too, I think, but this gives you an opportunity to put a soundbar underneath it, which we're gonna do eventually. So here we're on the Google TV operating system, and right when we turned the TV on, it looked a little bit dim. We went into the setup and kind of messed around with finding some of the auto power features. So if you go into the eco mode, you have this power saving mode, which was on high. We turned it off. And then you also have this auto adjust according to ambient light, which wasn't even on this menu. We had to go in and find it and bring it up and then, turn it off. So those two things can kind of restrict how bright your TV is. And then lastly, you also have the peak luminance. So if that's set to low or medium, you want to put that to high to get your best brightness. So a bunch of little settings that you can adjust to make it brighter. But here we are on that home screen. And what's really important about this is that you just have basically unlimited apps that you can get into. I mean, there's really nothing that I know of that you can't do with this TV or any Google TV. So I like this operating system. The free channels are great. All the apps are here. You can move them around. It's pretty nice for an operating system, and the fact that you get a high quality Sony TV with one of the best operating systems, I'm a big fan. It also has some of the other things that are recommended or things you can watch, including this great LG OLED video, which is from us. So, having recommendations or things that you've watched and you can resume watching is a great benefit to the operating system. And lastly, if the TV's on idle, you also will get some ambient mode stuff, some pretty cool art. I know that our dog Cesar likes to jump at some of the ones with animals on it and get all crazy, but there's some pretty cool art that you get just in general, along with the time, the temperature, and all that. So great operating system, great start for this TV. So since we were looking at things that I previously watched, why don't we pop on some NFL Live just to see how good this looks when watching SDR content. So if you're just watching sports or news, things like this on regular cable, I got good news for for you. This is a great TV. I mean, it looks great. It upscales very well from the lower resolution content up to a 4K TV. I would assume it looks great even on the larger size, like a 77-inch, because I really don't see a whole lot of drop off. But on this 65-inch, very sharp. Again, it depends on what you're giving it, but this Bravia 8 will do as good a job or better as any 4K TV as far as upscaling. And motion and everything else looks pretty good. The color looks great. I mean, if you look at some of the skin tones and some of the detail, it looks fantastic, even when you're watching someone talk on a sports show from their own living room or whatever. So I think it looks really good for that. And I think the only downside is it's not quite as blistering bright as maybe it could be. You know, if you look at the next tier up, like the A95L, it's just so much brighter. And now that all these OLED TVs are coming out with 1000 nits or higher for brightness and a 2% window, this being a little bit under that is not underwhelming, but it's not like blowing my socks off for SDR. And that kind of leads me into the buying advice for this specific use case. I was thinking I should give you guys that sort of advice as I go. So if you're just buying this really nice Bravia 8 at the price of like $2,000 to watch sports, I can just tell you, you're probably going to be able to find a TV that's a little less expensive, or get something that's larger and probably just as good for watching sports, like the Bravia 7, for example. That's a really good mini LED that's brighter, and yet the price is better for a larger version of it. Or even the Bravia 3, you know, it's relatively similar in brightness to this, or maybe a little dimmer, but yet you can get a much bigger size. We also have things like the Hisense U7N or U8N that are both really good mini LED TVs and much better price point for the size as well. So a lot of great options if you're just talking about watching sports or movies on cable, things like that. But we also want to watch HDR movies to see how good that looks. So let's get into that. Okay, so watching HDR movies is one of the highlights of these TVs. The colors look amazing. It's a pretty bright TV. And then on top of that, you have the infinite contrast. So you really don't have a whole lot of weaknesses when watching HDR movies. And because the movies are in 4K, it looks even better than it did when we were upscaling that lower resolution content. So I absolutely love Sony TVs for watching movies. And I even love OLED TVs better for that. One of the things that I really liked about the A90J, which this Bravia 8 is, I guess, the next step or the next evolution of that A90J, is that it had really even skin tones. It had really good color. All the different colors looked fantastic on the screen. I don't really see inaccuracies to the naked eye anyways, or off angle, it doesn't look bad. I mean, there's no blooming that an LED TV might have with full array local dimming. So really no downsides. It's mostly fantastic. And all these different movies that we're watching look great. The only thing I can say is, again, it's not super bright in terms of OLED any longer. There are a couple OLEDs that are even more expensive that are a lot brighter than this. And even ones like the C4 from LG and the S90D from Samsung, which I'm going to get here shortly as well, are considerably brighter than this when watching HDR. Now, both of those aren't maybe as perfect at upscaling or looking quite as sharp or color accuracy, or even Samsung doesn't have Dolby Vision. So a few different things with every different TV. And I'm not trying to make excuses for this, but it's a fairly even TV, and I really like it for watching movies. And again, if you're looking at, buying advice for that, for this reason, this is where you'd say you probably have your best case for buying a Sony OLED. Just the general overall picture quality, color accuracy, and all the things that Sony are known for are right here in front of you. And I like this. But on the other hand, if you're really looking for like that home run hitting OLED TV from Sony, there's also the A95L, which is, extremely expensive, but really is a lot brighter than this. And so both of these OLED TVs are fantastic for watching HDR. Well, we want to get to gaming as well, just because that's another feature of this great OLED TV. But first, a couple tests that we normally do. One is the dirty screen effect. Now, typically OLED TVs look fairly good when talking about the uniformity of the panel. And this OLED is fantastic, the Bravia 8. I don't really see much of anything in the background. There might be a tiny little streak in the middle going vertically that might be visible, but it's really tough to notice this. And honestly, this passes with flying colors for the most part, much better than a lot of LED TVs. And then the other thing is how it handles reflections. As I said early on, it looked like it did a good job in a room with the TV off, which is a good way just to kind of get a general sense of that. It's really hard to see yourself as far as reflections in the TV. Some matte finishes are very blotchy, or if you have very little anti-reflective handling, you can almost just see yourself right in the TV, but this is fairly good. And when you turn the home screen on, you actually have like a light that would represent a window in your house. Still fairly good. I mean, the TV is pretty bright. It handles the reflections good. So unless you're in a super bright room, it's going to be good for this sort of thing. And so having a couple windows won't be a deal breaker with this OLED. And then of course we don't do the blooming test because this is an OLED with individually lit pixels, so there is no issue of having light bleeding into an area. So that's another great benefit of an OLED TV. And of course, people can concern themselves with OLED burn-in, but nowadays there's a lot of built-in protections to resist having burn-in on OLED TVs, so it's really just not an issue in 2024. And then lastly, we want to talk about gaming. So this is a Sony Bravia 8 connected to a Sony PlayStation 5. So it can't get a whole lot better when you have these paired together. And the Bravia 8 has two HDMI ports that are 4K 120. You have all the gaming features you could probably want: VRR, instant game mode, the 4K 120. So when you're talking about playing fast games, you're going to have very low input lag. And when you're talking about this Bravia 8 or pretty much any OLED, you also have instantaneous response time. So when you're talking 4K 120, low input lag, fast response time, I mean, that is match made in heaven for any gaming situation. And I really like this for gaming at 4K 120. Now, if we're going to get into the buying advice though, and we're going to say, are you going to compare this to other TVs specifically for gaming or just in general now? Something like the LG C4 and even the Samsung S90D have been really good gaming TVs for a few years now, or the various models like them. So this is probably not one you're just going to buy specifically for gaming when there are other options out there, but you could, and it's really good. But really, it's just about the overall quality of this TV. I think the Bravia 8's fantastic in many ways. It's an upgrade from the A90J that I used to have that was considered a Master Series OLED, and I absolutely loved it for years. So it's a really good TV here. However, a couple of the other OLED brands have kind of caught up to Sony with regards to some of this stuff. And maybe it's not that the C4 or the S90D have the same picture quality as the Sony that's known for great picture quality and accurate calibration and all those things, but they're both brighter, which is a benefit to having those other two models. The S90D is significantly brighter. So when you're talking Samsung versus Sony, there might be a benefit for you to buy that, especially if you're talking about gaming. Movies, I'd probably still stick to the Sony Bravia 8 because of the picture quality and because of the lack of Dolby Vision, but we still have to get the S90D in the house and review it separately. You have to remember also those other two TVs are less expensive than this Bravia 8, so you're paying a premium again to have this Sony TV. And because this is more expensive, it's also getting close to being the same price as the top tier OLED TVs, one being the LG G4, which is even brighter than the C4 and significantly brighter than this TV, and also the Samsung S95D, which is their top model. Also, again, extremely bright. So we're kind of in between the lower priced OLEDs and the higher priced OLEDs, and you're getting a kind of really good TV, but it's in between all of those TVs, so it's kind of hard to differentiate. And also Sony has their A95L QD OLED, which is really the best. It's the top tier king of TVs. So a lot of things to think about, but I know it's difficult to recommend this just straight up when you have all these new OLED opportunities out there as well. So I hope I didn't confuse you with all the information in the buying advice here. Moral of the story is Bravia 8, awesome OLED TV, but kind of expensive. And if you're looking for, the best deal or the best mid-tier OLED TV, maybe I just need to make a separate video kind of comparing all the different options and give it to you that way. So let me know what you guys think in the comments. Is the Bravia 8 on your guys' shopping list? And if you have any other questions, let me know. And make sure to smash the like button and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And you feel free to take the TV quiz, which will be linked down in the description below, kind of help you navigate all the different TVs. And we'll see you guys in the next video.